When I hear Baroque works, only one thing comes to mind. The first major system in the One Piece world that ends that comfortable feeling of, we beat the bad guy and move on. Because what you're up against here isn't some fistfight gang, it's a layered criminal organization that runs on code names, moves in partner pairs, and hides itself in tiers. Everyone walks around as Mr. and Miss. No real names, no conscience, just assignments. That's why fighting this organization isn't about defeating a character, it's about getting caught inside a plan and trying to rip that plan apart. And Netflix clearly signaling that the live-action Season 2 is entering the Grand Line route, plus a casting choice like Joe Manganiello for Crocodile. That tells me this season won't just be meeting Baroque works. It'll be the season where we actually see Baroque. Works teeth. And by the way, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Alright, let's get into it. If anyone is dismissing Baroque works as just a random villain gang, then I honestly think they're missing the point. Because this structure is crime at its most corporate in the One Piece universe. Codenames, partner systems, layered hierarchy. Most of the members operate without even knowing each other's real names. Everyone is Mr. and Miss. And that makes it not just secretive, but unsettling. You're not facing a person, you're facing a job description. Even in a fight, you're not thinking I need to beat this guy. You're thinking I need to choke the plan. And at the top of that plan is Mr. Zero, Crocodile. The moment Netflix announced Joe Manganiello for Crocodile in live-action Season 2, the picture became crystal clear in my head. They're going to dive deep into the Baroque works vein. Crocodile isn't about money, bounties, catching pirates. His goal is a massive power play destabilizing Alabasta from the inside, taking it over and chasing the Pluton rumor on top of that. So what looks from the outside like a bounty hunter network is actually a regime-toppling project hiding underneath. And that project has a name, Operation Utopia. It sounds like a fairy tale utopia, but at its core, it's literally a coup plan. Create chaos, collapse the kingdom, and Crocodile steps in to restore order. Baroque Works agents are the hands of that plan on the ground: intel, assassinations, provocation, sabotage. It's not mafia. It's like you blended a secret service with a pirate syndicate, and this is what came out. That's why when the Straw Hats clash with them, it's not one more fight, the dominoes start falling. Now, Netflix is signaling Season 2 with that into the Grand Line direction. Logetown, Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island. And that route is exactly where early-tier Baroque Works agents shine. So, the moment you step into the Grand Line, the perfect organization to hit you with the welcome slap is Baroque Works. The way I read it is this. While Crocodile is far away setting up the chessboard, the field agents are going to grind us down with smaller, annoying gears slowly, efficiently, and on purpose. Even the announced, heavily talked about casting backs that up. Nico Robin, Miss All Sunday is Lara Abova, Mr. 3 is David Dasmalshin, and names like Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, Mr. 9 being in circulation isn't random either. Miss All Sunday is especially critical. She's not a cool character inside the evil organization you can just brush past. She's a key figure that shifts the balance of the whole story. That's why I don't see Season 2 as we hear about Baroque Works from afar. I see it as we step into it and feel how cold the system is. Whiskey Peak, in my opinion, is where Baroque Works lands its first real tripwire on the audience. Because on the surface, that town looks like a warm welcome, pirate-loving, friendly, fun, but underneath, it's literally the organization's web. You've just entered the Grand Line, your morale is high, and then you realize everyone smiling at you is actually measuring you. And that's the entire Baroque Works vibe. Not blowing everything up in a big war, but finishing the job quietly. Nobody hears it, nobody understands it, the target is gone. So what happens at Whiskey Peak isn't just action, it's a tonal shift. The Straw Hats are riding that new sea energy, and suddenly they find themselves inside a test. Baroque Works' first contact agents usually don't operate with raw strength, they operate with structure. They drop a pirate-hunting factory mechanic right into the middle of the story. Trick them, pull them in, catch them at a weak moment, package them up. It's one of the cleanest thresholds in One Piece where you feel, okay, the Grand Line just got serious. Little Garden always gives me a field test feeling. Because it's not just an island, it's a lab. And Mr. 3's presence screams that his whole thing isn't punching, it's traps, planning, being infuriating. He tries to beat you, not physically, but by breaking your rhythm. If the live action builds it right, the tension there becomes less who beat who, and more, how do we get out of this? And that's exactly where Baroque Works tastes best. What I love is that Baroque Works agents are designed like character-specific problems. Each one pokes a different side of the crew. Types that set traps against Zoro's. I cut through everything. Rhythm. Sneaky moves built for Sanji's reflexes. Psychological pressure against Usopp's panic to courage swing. And Luffy already hates planning Baroque Works is planning made flesh. So the clash isn't just powers colliding, it's system versus chaos. And there's also that double-layer boss structure which I really care about. Crocodile is the visible top, sure, but figures like Miss All Sunday represent the organization's brain and mystery layer. The moment she steps into frame, the story automatically shifts into, these aren't just villains, they carry information. And Netflix potentially pushing Miss All Sunday earlier makes me think that chessboard vibe will be set up right from season 2. Someone is moving pieces from afar, and others are acting on the ground. When you line up the route, the picture gets even clearer. Logetown gives us the last breath of the old world, Reverse Mountain, Laboon takes us through the Grand Line Gate, and then we drop into stops like Whiskey Peak and Little Garden where Baroque Works' fingerprints are all over the place. That tells me this: even if Season 2 looks like a different adventure on each island, under the surface, the strings of a single organization will start showing little by little. So even episode by episode, we'll feel the same hand pushing us from behind. And the biggest thing that strengthens this is how Baroque Works operates like a network. You beat a gang and it's over. Here it's not, because the system is layered. You drop one agent and another one surfaces. You think, okay, we solved it on one island, and on the next island, another branch of the same organization stands in your way. And that's when the audience realizes, we didn't enter an island, we entered an organization. The Grand Line doesn't feel like a sea, it feels like a mechanism. That's why I imagine Baroque Works in Season 2 like this. First we go in like, who even are these people? Then after 2 or 3 encounters we go, oh, this is an organization thing. And then someone like Miss All Sunday shows up and changes the tone. Because Robin-type characters don't just bring conflict, they bring doubt. What does she know? Whose side is she on? How loyal is she to Crocodile? Those questions pile up, and before you even reach Alabasta, Alabasta's shadow starts falling over everything. And then there's Crocodile's chess master energy. While the field agents wear us down, Crocodile's power grows specifically because he doesn't show himself. If the live action nails this, they won't throw Crocodile into early boom-boom action, they'll build his presence like an atmosphere. Because what makes Crocodile dangerous isn't his fist, it's that he can run a years-long plan to collapse a country while presenting a completely different image to the world. Even his evil has PR. And right there, the Straw Hats' advantage flips into the perfect counterweapon. They don't listen to plans, they don't move on calculations, they do the impossible in the most unexpected way. Baroque Works runs on everything is under control. So the moment something uncontrollable happens, they start cracking. That's the clash I love. One side is procedure, the other is instinct. One side is an operation, the other is an adventure. And when those two collide, you don't just get fights, you get character tests. The partner system is also something that can work insanely well in live action, because it breaks the cliche of villains show up one by one. Everyone arrives as a duo, and the chemistry of that duo creates its own tension. And the codenames turn people into roles instead of individuals. I'm especially curious how Netflix will translate that into a visual language. Characters like Mr. P, 3 already walk the line between cartoon and drama. If the live action hits the dosage right, you get a threat that's both unsettling and entertaining. And if names like Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine come into play, the show instantly steps on the line of, the Grand Line isn't a game anymore, because their logic isn't street fighting, it's quick elimination. Even lower-tier Baroque Works agents might look like bounty hunters, but since they're part of a country-level plan, their attacks feel colder and more ruthless. And when that coldness collides with the Straw Hats' warm energy, it creates a satisfying shock for the audience. We're still watching an adventure, but there's a serious threat underneath now. And how Vivi is placed into this season is, in my opinion, absolutely critical. Because once Vivi enters, Baroque Works stops being the organization that attacks us and becomes the system that eats a country. The real weight of Baroque Works is here.
You can punch people, but you can't punch a country's psychology.
Drought, the people's anger, trust in the king eroding, rebels growing. You can't solve that with fists. That's what makes Baroque Works terrifying. It turns conflict into something sociological. When we get to Drum Island, that might not be Baroque Works' direct operation zone, but tonally it's a huge threshold for the season, because Drum squeezes the story emotionally. While the crew deals with healing and finding a new ally, the Baroque Works shadow keeps growing in the background. Putting those two next to each other gives the season a great rhythm. One episode is Agent Trap. The next is Survival and Heartbreak. You make the Grand Line feel brutal not only through enemies, but through circumstances.
So the finale feeling I want from Season 2 looks like this.
Not fully bringing Crocodile down onto the stage and flipping every card over, but pushing his presence to a level where it can't be denied anymore. When the season ends, the audience should say, okay, this organization is huge, and this guy is just getting started. That's the tastiest part of Baroque Works. It doesn't suffocate you with fights, it suffocates you with expectation. For me, the key closing sentence is this. Baroque Works is the first big system you run into after entering the Grand Line. Not something you can relax after beating one enemy. an entire network spread through veins. So if the live-action Season 2 delivers this correctly, the audience will feel something for the first time. We're not island hopping for fun anymore. We walked into a structure. And that structure squeezes you not just with fists, but with manipulation, secrecy, and assigned roles. Crocodile is also the perfect shadow boss material for this season. Joe Manganiello's casting automatically raised expectations. But what I want isn't Crocodile showing up early and burning everything down. I want him to touch from a distance. Because Crocodile's threat isn't him entering the frame and shouting, it's the fact that before you even see him, you keep stepping on an extension of his plan on every island. As Baroque Works agents stack on top of each other, the audience understands. This man's hand is everywhere. And let me underline the Miss All Sunday point one more time before I end. Robin's presence takes the story to another level. Because when she arrives, evil stops being just fists and becomes an information war. And Baroque Works' biggest weapon is information. Who has whose weakness? Who is playing what role? Who is walking around behind which mask? If that layer is built earlier through a figure like Robin, Season 2's curiosity engine runs stronger. The taste I'm expecting from Season 2 is basically this. We'll beat one mini-boss on each island, but in reality we'll be climbing one level higher every time. You get slapped at Whiskey Peak, you fall into a trap at Little Garden, you get hit in the heart at Drum, and above all of that, you start seeing the fog of Crocodile's big Alabasta game. When the season ends, you're left with that feeling of, the real war hasn't even started. And honestly, I think that's the correct structure. That's why I love Baroque Works. It doesn't do evil with brute force. It does evil with organizational skill. It turns crime into procedure, strips people of identity and replaces it with code names, pushes conscience into the coldness of operation completed. And because the Straw Hats are the exact opposite, chaos spilling outside the plan, this clash is always delicious. And to me, the main flavor of Season 2 is right here. Yes, we'll watch fights, but the real war will be between the plan and no plan. That's it for today. Now, what I want to know is this. Do you think Netflix can make Baroque Works feel like a true agent network in live action? Or will it still lean more into straight-up fights? And which character are you most excited to see? Crocodile, Miss All Sunday, or a surprise agent? Write your answers one by one. And if there's a moment you're like, this scene has to be in, add that too. I'm reading everything, and in the next video, we'll talk about the best comments. And again, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.